Welcome to Talking Giants player profiles and projections. Week 4, kicking it off. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Panic. We're presented by John Boy Media. Justin, we got two young players, Andrew Thomas and O'Shane Ximines. Justin, Andrew Thomas, my guy, the guy I was banging on the drum for hell, since last summer, basically. Justin, Andrew Thomas, the 4th overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft. 6'5", 320 pounds, out of Georgia, 21 years old. We actually share the same birthday, which is pretty cool. I didn't learn that until today, January 22nd. He was born in 99, so he was born 7 years after I was. So he's 21. I'm 28 years old. Justin, there's a lot to talk about with this kid, but what do you got?
Well, what I got, Bobby Skinner, is first of all, we're a week closer to football. Congratulations, we're all getting there. Second of all, this is going to be a much more exciting week of PPPs because we're leading it off with pretty two good, exciting players, unlike Lorenzo Carter, Kyler Fackrell, Shane Lemieux. Not that exciting for 2020 Giants. But Andrew Thomas, while he was a sophomore, so this is very early on in his career. I don't know if this was sophomore after his sophomore season or before he was a starter, before he played right tackle his first season at Georgia. But he was invited to represent the players while at Georgia at a ribbon-cutting ceremony late in the summer of 2018. Just a sophomore at the time, stood shoulder to shoulder with the president of the school, the director of athletics, and then head coach Kirby Smart. And Kirby Smart actually gave a reflection after Thomas was drafted and said that speech that Thomas gave, because I think they were opening up a new locker room or a new facility, and that speech that Thomas gave wasn't written down, wasn't memorized. It was straight from the heart. And I'll be honest, Bobby, I would be much nervous speaking in front of the director of athletics and the school's president compared to my own football team. So we already know that Thomas has a pretty good set of lungs on him when it comes to his singing voice, but also his leadership qualities kind of stood out in that regard too. So there you go.
Yeah, a talented kid. Like you said, he could sing, he could play instruments, and I guess he's a good speech doer too. So come on the show and give us a speech, baby.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little combine stuff since he is a rookie. Justin, it frustrated me that people said he had a bad combine. Very frustrating. Because you want to know what? Speed-wise, what is the most important thing for an offensive tackle? I'm so sick of people saying that the 40 is the most important. It is the 20-yard shuttle, Justin, because you are going 5 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards with using your agility, short burst movement. That is the most important thing for an offensive tackle. Second fastest out of the offensive tackles, only to Ezra Cleveland. He ran a 4.66. Better than those the four total offensive tackles that were the top of the class with Becton, Wills, and Wirfs. The 3 W's. Actually, no, that's only 2. What am I thinking?
It's all right. B is close to a W. It's okay.
it's like the opposite. So the best in that. Arm length. Had the longest arms of the tackles. At 36 and 1/5 inch, he had the longest arms of the tackles. Just in bench press. Wirfs had 23. Thomas had 21. Becton had 22. Wills didn't participate. Justin, his combine was fine. And let's talk about his college, too. He was the best left tackle in college football. Just the best. Gave up 1 sack in 2019 to Marlon Davidson. 25 total pressures and 3 years as a starter. 1 year at right tackle his freshman year and then 2 years at left tackle. Guy dominated SEC competition. Put him up against K'Lavon Chasen. Dominated him the entire game. Put him up against Josh Allen. Not a ton of reps against him one-on-one, but dominated him those games. Put him up against Julian Okwara. Dominated him in that game. He was the best, and he played pure left tackle with a statue in the pocket of Jake Fromm. Justin, you and Paul Dottino love Jake Fromm, but nonetheless, you guys a statue in the pocket. Justin, Andrew Thomas, I was banging on the table. This guy is a top tackle prospect. He's a top tackle prospect. You are not settling for left tackle if you draft this guy, and it was exciting as it could be when the Giants pulled the trigger and drafted him.
It was very strange to see how the pre-draft process was working because during the season, this guy was the number 1 tackle prospect. And then suddenly when games weren't even being played, the evaluations were changing. You know, I think it's much easier to write headlines about Wirfs' speeds and Wirfs in the open field, and it's a lot easier to write headlines about Becton's speed for being such a huge guy. rather than just, hey, Andrew Thomas is just a good tackle. Maybe easier. And people got attracted by those flashy things that those players did. And then Wills was just a good technician overall. But Bobby, we even talked about it with our interview with Keenan Forney, who was Andrew Thomas's trainer this past offseason, and he was a former all-decade offensive lineman for the Falcons. Interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, and we just talked about Andrew Thomas just does his job. There's not something that's going to be flashy that Thomas is going to bring, or that it's going to stick out to you. There's not really a lot of flashy things that offensive linemen can do in general. But Andrew Thomas just does.
What do you guys want this guy doing? Backflip?
Yeah, no, exactly. But Andrew Thomas just does his job, and he does it better than every other offensive line prospect in this draft class, and that's why he was drafted 4th. And also, Bobby Skinner, you're not a dumb guy. That's also why you chose him to be your top prospect.
Yeah, I mean, you look at every one of the other offensive linemen, and he just was flat out better than them, which is awesome. Which I thought was a pretty good tackle class. I really liked Wills. Becton, I liked. Wirfs, not so much. He's a guard, but nonetheless, it was really impressive to watch him. I mean, I fell in love with him in the 2018 SEC championship game against Alabama, and I was like, this guy's the best player on the field. Okay, and that's pretty impressive. That was before we played all of the 2019 season. I went and watched him, and I said, this guy is the best player on the field right now. Offense, defense, and that includes guys like Xavier McKinney, bunch of guys. Alabama has guys. Georgia has guys on offense. So, Justin, he's starting at left tackle, which we're assuming he should be. And even if Nate Solder opted in, he should have been starting at left tackle. Maybe he'll have struggles rookie year. Maybe. I don't think it'll be bad. There'll be some times where there'll be some issues, but it can be nowhere near as bad as it was with Nate Solder in 2019, Justin. And you know what? A left tackle and a QB, there is chemistry there, okay? Like there's chemistry involved in that. When it's like, you can feel when the guy might be getting pressure, and you know when to step up. You want to know when a guy when he does recorrect, how is he going to push him back inside, stuff like that. So there is some type of chemistry there. There's no need to delay that with Jones and Andrew Thomas, left tackle from day one.
Yeah, I think it's the same argument with quarterback. I think myself and some other people, we were banging on the table for Jones to start day one last year, is because you don't want to delay that process. Obviously, Eli Manning's presence is there, but analytically driven people that are arguing that Andrew Thomas should be starting at right tackle or should be starting not at left tackle because you don't want to stunt the growth or you don't want him to struggle out of the gate. I don't understand that when left tackle, second most important position in the game of football, you want a guy to get out there and get his physical reps. You don't want to ease a guy in. You don't want those quote unquote get your mental reps, just get your feet wet. No, throw a guy out there. And also, Bobby, if it's so bad to the point where Andrew Thomas just can't recover, then I don't want that kind of quality and character guy on my football team anyway. You look at Eric Flowers.
Eric Flowers wasn't going to make it no matter. Him starting left tackle had nothing to do with his struggles as a player. I truly believe that.
No, but even his rookie year, he was not like bad and terrible like he was in his years afterwards. And he was hurt his rookie year. But what really happened is that Eric Flowers wasn't a hard worker. He wasn't willing to put in the work to grow.
And he wasn't that good.
And he just wasn't that good to begin with. But my point is that even though it wasn't that bad of a rookie year, because of the certain character and the work ethic concerns that he had, and he was just a bad person, that's why it didn't work. Whereas Andrew Thomas, you were hoping that this guy, good quality guy, just, we talked about at the start of the show how, he was a leader on that Georgia team, being picked to speak as a sophomore at a big campus event. So we're hoping that even if he does struggle his rookie year, that will not be a detriment to his entire football career.
Yeah. The reason that rookies will play right tackle their first year is because there's a left tackle on the team that's better than them right away, and the team's trying to win. Nate Solder, you can show me everything you want. There is no way you can tell me that Andrew Thomas will be worse than what Nate Solder was in 2019. You could say maybe he's going to bounce back or stuff like that, but that's all speculative. There's no way Thomas could have been worse than what Solder was in 2019 because he was the worst in the NFL.
Right.
Let's talk about some of his weaknesses, though, because the guy's not perfect. Mark Colombo said they're working with hand placement, which is one of the two things. And I'd say hand placement's the more important one. There's times where he kind of will clamp his hands outside instead of a punch and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So what happens like that is you put your hands outside like that, and then a good defensive end will learn how to swat them that way, and they'll pull, get you on a swim move or something like that. So
It's
that's
much more efficient to punch rather than it's almost like think if you have like syllables in your hand and you're in a high school band, much more efficient to just punch straight rather
you
than
call
bring
them
the syllables
syllables,
together. Well, syllables like you're in a high school band.
symbols.
Symbols, whatever they're called. I wasn't in the
Syllables are
band.
like how many syllables is there in the name Pennick? Pennick. There's two
Oh,
syllables.
well, bad
Boy, for
radio.
a
What else
learned
is there?
nerd like you, I have to teach you what words mean. That was a Rickyism right there. You just called symbols syllables. That's a Rickyism right there.
Boom.
The other thing, sometimes he crosses up his feet. Now, the thing is he stays. This is something that Nate Soldier struggle with, offensive tackles struggle with, is staying square even when you're going against a speed rusher. Because what happens is guys open their hips and they turn, and it gives it a quicker path to the QB. Now, you eventually want to turn your hips, but you want to do it with like 5 to 7 yards of depth. If you're doing it at 3 yards, it's a struggle. Thomas, that's a feel thing. That's an instincts. That's an athleticism thing. Thomas does that perfectly. So I like that about him. Let's talk about the run game a little bit. He mauls. Like there's probably some like technique stuff he could clean up, but he mauls guys. Like Wills was probably the technician in the run game, but Thomas is the one that just mauls dudes and pushes them back 5 yards.
Yeah, according to Football Outsiders in 2019, the Giants ranked 29th when they were running past the left tackle and 26th when they were running past the left end. I may have gotten those two numbers switched up, but you get the point. The Giants were bad, and they were in the bottom quarter of the league when running the ball towards the left side. And then they were actually average when they ran to the ball to the right side. So hopefully Andrew Thomas is really going to help out with that. A lot of people said that his biggest strength was his run blocking compared to his pass blocking coming out of college. So let's get that improved.
Got good agility, which means he can get to a linebacker. He can even there'll be times where he has a bad angle and he'll get to a linebacker or a DB. We're trying to get to the second level. So, man, this guy's the future left tackle. We got the left tackle for a QB. It was 100% the correct pick. And I got all the confidence in the world. Now we're facing some really good defenses, so
Yeah.
I'm not expecting him to be the best left tackle in the NFL from day one, but I really think this guy's going to have an all-pro career, Justin.
Bobby, let me ask you a quick question before we go, because I know we're running a little bit long, but you mentioned how you wanted Jason Garrett to incorporate some Kyle Shanahan stuff into this Giants offense. Now, I don't know Kyle Shanahan's offense like the back of my hand, but outside zone stuff, I can figure that's what you may be wanting to integrate a little bit more into this Giants offense.
Pulling and trapping.
Could we see some Andrew Thomas out in space going to take some dudes' blocks off in 2020?
Yes, but when I say Shanahan's offense, the stuff I kind of like is we saw in that little clip the Giants put out. Hernandez, who is great at pulling. You got Hernandez pulling, and then you got Thomas blocking a backside linebacker or a play side linebacker. Angles, and that's what Thomas is great at, is getting to that second level. So where you have Thomas getting to the second level and Hernandez pulling on the outside, stuff like that. Or getting down on a inside. I got the defensive lineman that's lined up between the guard and center, being able to get down across that guy's face, stuff like that. That's what I think Thomas can do well. So, and that's what that 4.66 shuttle translates to. All right, let's take a break and get to O'Shane the X-Man.